Thank you. Fantastic introduction. And I'm going to have to build an AI spam filter for all the emails I'm about to get. So I'm obviously Andrew Hodges. I'm with Tega Building Products. We are a building materials distributor in Canada. We have 15 locations across Canada. We have 3 locations in the US as well. And we also own a trucking company where we handle all our own logistics and a treating facility where we make our own preserved wood. So I'm hoping to share my journey. Basically, when I started at Tega, it started as a very manual or analog business. We went through 3 digital transformations along the way. Obviously, all of those had challenges that went with it, and we had solutions around those challenges, so that's what I'm hoping to share with you guys today. Won't be getting too much into the tech speak, mainly because I know that you're all smarter than me. Our journey. So when I started at Tega, to give you an idea of the history, we started as a company that had literal price binders. So we had a physical book where you would look up the pricing, and the phone call would come in, people would be flipping to whichever product the customer was looking for, and then from there they would have to do whatever discount it was or figure out whatever tier it was. The mechanical calculators would have ticker tape flying out the back, and people would be yelling across the office saying, how much is in a box of this, or how many boxes go in a lift of this. So our first digital transformation that I was part of, and when I went out in outside sales, I started building these tools that helped me communicate our pricing better, communicate our product data better. And so these, basically an Excel file that allowed us to communicate those, that would have the customer name at the top. They started getting adopted by the other branches out of our 15 branches. So from there, we basically led me to my next position was a pricing analyst. And I worked with each of the different branches and helped them digitize these archaic books that they had on all of their desks. The second transformation that we underwent was I entered a team. There was 3 of us, project manager, business analyst, and myself doing the data work, and we built our own e-commerce platform. And because we're in the B2B space, I'm sure there were solutions at the time, but we figured, we're so special, we needed our own custom solution. So we dealt with a developer from overseas. We built an e-commerce platform, and particularly geared towards trying to service the unique data needs that obviously B2B has, and trying to figure out what those needs were, because obviously our customers, they care how many square feet are in a box or how much it weighs if I'm going to put it on a truck, but they don't really care about what color it is. So trying to service their needs as far as the direct needs, but also servicing the needs that they need to sell their customers, which I found personally very rewarding, because as soon as you teach a customer to sell your products, then your efforts are exponential. And so you can basically bring that one customer online, and then it just blows up from there. So that was a very interesting project. Again, very small team. And then the third digital transformation that we did was we obviously partnered with Torque, and we brought Pimcore online because we identified that there was a need for us to actually have real product data. We had product data. It was just in this very junky kind of database that we had built around our e-commerce platform, and we called it Pim Lite. So we partnered with Torque, we brought Pimcore online, and that solved a whole bunch of problems for us. So what I'm hoping to share with you guys, aside from just the journey, but was the challenges that we faced as we went through these different transformations. There are challenges that everybody deals with in these type of projects. And we have solutions around them. Some of them are common sense. Some of them we kind of tried to flip it on its head when we could. Tons of challenges, but I would put it in 3 main categories. The first one was scalability. Obviously, we had a team of 1 for the first project. There's 3 of us for the second project. We were fortunate enough to have Torque for our last project, which made things super smooth. But in general, our biggest challenge was scalability. So you'd roll it out to one branch, and then all of a sudden you start bringing these other branches in. You weren't able to really handle the amount of data requests, the amount of data coming in. It just became this spaghetti mess. So obviously the common sense solution was guardrails, validation, all the things you would normally put around your data so that you get clean data in. Automations wherever you can. If you can avoid touching the data to start with, it's obviously a big solution there. But the one thing that we made sure to do was flip our workflow on its head. A lot of people want to have a workflow where the fields data comes in from the people entering it, and then from there you have either an administrator or a manager that has to approve it. And so we found that when you have that many data requests coming through, you have somebody who has to work through a queue of 4,000 different data changes. All they're going to do is spam that approval button, and you're really not getting any real benefit out of that. So instead, what we did was, instead of assuming that everybody's bad at their job, and don't get me wrong, there is a lot of that, but we just assumed that everybody was good at their job. And so obviously you have those guardrails and validations in place to make sure that anything that's truly critical to your platform, it's not going to break anything. But once that comes in, it goes off to production. And then from there, we would bring in a reporting feedback loop, so that instead of that error being missed and firing off into the ether, it would come back as a report, and it would never leave that report until you've dealt with it. So the result is that obviously you have better scalability on the people that you have to deal with, and you have just so much better data. Except obviously exceptions. So that brings me to my second biggest challenge that we ran into was exceptions. There's always exceptions in data, and you don't want to necessarily solution around the exceptions. But we had all these different things where we could only sell these guys certain things, or we have somebody who has a custom branded logo on their products, we couldn't sell them that, or they have special pricing, all these different things. Obviously, the common sense is standardization, which fit for a lot of the use cases. But the biggest thing for us was baking that exception model into your data. You don't want a solution for the exceptions, but making sure that there's a metadata model around it so that when you have those exceptions, it's not a nightmare to manage. When we started the first couple branches, it was all built into whatever ETL layer. You'd have an if statement, and then a nested if statement, and then a nested if statement. And trying to parse that back out into something that actually works, if I were to ever leave the company, it would be an absolute mess. So building that into your metadata so that it's transparent to your company and everybody can see exactly what the actual exceptions are was really important to us as we transformed into that. And then the last one, and I'm sure everybody here has encountered it in one way or another, is adoption. So trying to bring on a software platform. Again, we're talking about people who had ticker tape coming out the back of their calculators. We were a very manual company. And so trying to get them to adopt an actual software platform was a nightmare. And so as I moved through these different transformations throughout my career at Tega, we started to develop these strategies, I guess, around trying to convince these people. Obviously, the first one, and again, a no-brainer, is the sales job. You want to sell your platform, tell them why it's going to make them more efficient, why it's, obviously a lot of people are scared that if you bring on a new software platform that they're going to lose their job or they won't make as much money because you've automated what they're doing. And my dad's favorite saying used to be, the phone dials out, not dials in. So instead of always just taking orders, you can go out and make orders. And so that selling that to your people obviously just makes sense. The second one is something that my old boss told me is get rid of their excuses. So a lot of people say, well, I don't want to deal with that platform because it doesn't do this. So either you solution that thing and you come back and say, okay, well now it does that. What's next? Or they say, well, this takes too much time. And so you train them and then it takes less time. And then at the end, it becomes distilled down to this, well, I just don't want to do it. Or in some cases, you go through the layers and they jump on board. But at the end of the day, if you can get them down to say, well, I just don't want to do it, well, then that's it. So especially when it's internal staff and you have the executive sponsorship to say, well, you have to do it, at least you've had them say it. It's almost written out. And a lot of people, once they've actually said that out loud, they'll come back a couple days later and they'll jump on board. And the last one, which is kind of a different approach, is we're all tempted to go after the early adopters on a platform. The guys who are forward thinking, the guys who are, obviously going to be the easy win. And don't get me wrong, those are very important people to have, especially from a training standpoint. But what I always went after was I would pick 5 or 6 people that are obviously high value in the company, but they are the risk adverse. They don't want to touch it. They just get really, really, really excited about, cursive writing, those types of people. And if you pick a couple of those, they're obviously going to be a lot harder to convert. But once you get one of those, they become your test case that anytime anybody else says, hey, well, I can't do this, we're like, well, that old guy did it. And he gets excited when the fax machine turns on. So if you can get those people in, then it just falls like dominoes. The rest of your company just falls in line. So in short, obviously some of you guys have already started on your journey of getting into a PIM platform or an e-commerce platform. If you're just starting or if you're nearing the end of your journey, obviously I hope that all of the people here have inspired you to keep moving forward. I think we can all attest that there's 110 different ways to continue to improve your business. So don't think that the status quo is good enough. We can always keep going. Those of you that are just starting your journey, good luck. Maybe ask your doctor if a data transformation is right for you. And as my grandfather used to always say, there's no such thing as problems, only solutions. That's it. Thank you.